Welcome, everybody. Are we here from other parts of the United States or outside the United States? How many Massachusetts people do we have? Okay. I'm from Pennsylvania. Where are you from?
I'm from Serbia.
Serbia, hi.
Yes, I'm part of educational leadership program here in Paris.
Oh, wonderful. Welcome. Where else?
Connecticut.
Connecticut, close by. What about you?
Virginia.
Virginia, okay. All right, well, it's nice to see all of you here, and I'm glad the weather cooperated. I was worried we'd get washed out, and walking around this beautiful campus isn't as fun when it's not so nice out. My name is Leisha Yakimowitz. I'm a teacher of the visually impaired for over 25 years, and I also specialize in cortical cerebral vision impairment, and you'll hear that a lot. It's a buzzword right now in the vision world. We'll refer to it as CVI. And about a year in December, I had the privilege of becoming the program manager, the content manager for PASD Literacy. Raise your hand if you have never heard of PASD Literacy before today. Okay, almost all of you. So PASD Literacy came to me as a teacher of the visually impaired, and it's kind of the go-to place on the internet. And I'll explain a little bit more about the history of PASD Literacy, but they got in on the ground running when it came to the internet. And it is such a wonderful collection of resources from not only the United States, but from around the world. So let's just get to a little bit, and hopefully you'll be able to find some resources on there that's really going to make you shine. This is one presentation where I encourage you to be on your phone or laptop. Feel free to go on and look at PASD Literacy's website while I'm talking. I learn, as most people learn, by doing. So just getting familiar with the website will make you feel a little bit more confident when you are in a rush to know where to go to. So I encourage that. And then if you ever have any questions or you're not finding something, because our website was just updated, I want to say a year ago, almost a year ago, it'll be in the summer. So the website still has a little bit of kinks in it. We're still addressing the issue that authors, if you find an author that you really like and connect with, sometimes if you Google their name, all of their articles don't come up. So we're working on that. It's gotten a lot better, but it's not 100% yet. So if you're looking for something in particular, feel free to email me. I usually respond to email within a day or two. So don't be shy about that. So again, I'm going to read this slide. It says, PASD Literacy is designed for teachers, families, and others interested in literacy for children and youth with visual impairments, including those who are deaf, blind, and or have multiple disabilities. How many here are actually teaching in the field? Okay, so half and half. Great. This PASD Literacy, what I love about it is I'm a very hands-on teacher. I like practical, where can I get the information and run with it? This is a very user-friendly, the language that most people present things to, you can understand. And when people present articles submit articles to me, I like lots of bullet points, get to the point. So coming across as a TVI, when I would come to PASD Literacy, I would find those resources and then be able to use them sometimes in my very next lesson. So here's a little bit about the history of the site. It is a collaboration between Texas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired and Perkins School for the Blind, which is where we are today. The website developed in 2010. So again, think about the internet and all the information out there. They started this website in 2010. So a lot of times when you Google something related to the vision world, you will see a PASD Literacy site pop up right away. And since then, over 3 million unique visitors in the site come from 236 countries. And as a vision teacher who sometimes we feel like we're in a little bubble, this is a community that kind of stretches out across the world. And it just re-energizes me as an educator when someone from literally South Korea or India has an idea or asks for an article, and it warms my heart to know that we are all working together and everybody has a really positive attitude. I just got an article from a woman who does sensory play in libraries, and she submitted the article and gave me like three letters of recommendation, and I said, you can stop, I trust you, you have 25 years experience. Your article shows what you know. We don't have to present a page-long thing of how educated you are. So paths to literacy, you'll see scientists, you'll see veteran teachers, you'll see student teachers, and you'll see first-time parents submitting things. So the great part of that is we're all on this journey together. So I will get a lesson that is from a mom who had a wonderful experience at home learning about cooking, and she'll submit the article, and we welcome that. We also will have areas of the site that are vetted, tried and true lessons. And I try to show you those different variations because we're all coming from a different place of learning. So you as a parent, if you're new to this, your input is valuable. So don't ever feel that something you've learned might not be valuable to the community, because we're learning constantly. And this field, it has just shown me that. You learn your math, you learn your English, and you learn how to present that to students. But in the field of vision, the technology, the teaching strategies, and the students teach us every day. And that's what's exciting coming to Paths to Literacy, because we're bringing you the latest and greatest that you might not know about it in your little bubble in Kansas. So if you go to Paths to Literacy website, this is our front page. What I want to point out here is the top part. If you click on these four tabs, it will get to the different areas. As a parent or as a new professional or teacher, have in mind what you're looking for before you go on the website. It's kind of like when you start scrolling on your phone and 20 minutes goes by and you forget what you were looking for. Have in mind what I want to accomplish, because like I said, as a parent or a new teacher, you're going to start feeling overwhelmed. And that is not the purpose of this website. There are over 3,000 articles. There are articles I find every week as the content manager that I've never seen before. And it's exciting to me to explore all of that. But if I'm living and breathing this website every day, and I don't know what's on everything, on all the different parts of it, then you're going to feel a little overwhelmed. And my greatest advice to the newbies out there, take a breath, think about what your goals and objectives are and what you would like to learn about, or if what you would like to do, maybe you're at home and you want to start teaching your child how to sort clothing or put toys away, or maybe you want to start exploring how to learn Braille as a family. All of that is on there, and I would just give yourself a allotted amount of time, go for those goals, those subjects, and move on. Otherwise, it might not be the best value to you, and you'll feel a little overwhelmed. Okay, so here are some of the building foundations. This is a introductory information. There are 15 different categories. And what I like about these categories is they kind of blend together, just like everything in education. So if you have a child who is deaf-blind, they're also maybe having emergent literacy, or you might have some needs or want to learn some strategies about math literacy. You might have a child who is CVI and you want to explore orientation and mobility. So a lot of these foundations blend together. In fact, when I'm writing an article or when someone submits an article, I'm often sitting there for a minute or two thinking, how does this fit into these categories? And a lot of times, I'm clicking 3 or 4 different areas. When you look at those building foundations and you think about, okay, paths to literacy, this is how you learn to read. Well, I have learned over the years that literacy is much more than being an emergent reader or being a reader. Literacy has to do with how you learn in your environment. So look at it that way. Math is a literacy, it's a language. So that is the second to reading. If you're thinking, oh, my child, I don't know if they're ever going to learn print, I don't know if they're ever going to learn Braille. Take one step at a time and always expose them to the materials and assume competence. And that's a really big phrase in the education world, assuming competence. And what that means to me is, well, why wouldn't they do it? Why wouldn't I expose this to them? Right now I have a little girl that I teach in 4th grade, and she's with very typical high-functioning peers who are very, very smart. And we were worried, how would she succeed in this class? How would she be successful? How would she interact? And if we put roadblocks up for her, we would have never seen her abilities and capabilities. So keep an open mind when you're thinking, maybe my child couldn't do that. You'll never know unless you try. And they're going to teach you wonderful things that you never even thought about. So you're on a journey with them as well. And what I've learned is that my students and my children teach me more than I will ever teach them. So just keep an open mind when you think about literacy and how can I expose my child or student to literacy. I look at literacy often like the old question, what is art? What is literacy? Literacy is learning everything around you to hopefully get it to a point where it's a language where you can obtain knowledge. Some students who do not read print get their information from their auditory skills. So if they are a large print reader or a Braille reader, if they're learning new content, they learn it through auditory input, they listen. So what you need to do when you're thinking about literacy is finding out what your student or your child, how they learn. And then introduce them to new forms of learning, but also looking back at what is their preferred mode of learning. So when I'm teaching large print, when I'm teaching Braille, I'm teaching them how to read. When my student wants to learn new content, a lot of times those headphones go on and they listen to the new content. So those are two very different styles of learning, learning to read and reading to learn. This is the fun part for me. As a teacher, I love the get down and dirty part. I'm less of a research girl and more of a hands-on with the kids girl. So here are some great activities and strategies. And again, I'm learning them every day as I become a more expert, have more expertise in the area of PASD literacy. So these are just a few examples. Here's a story of a washing machine, learning by participation in daily activities. So if you have a child who is a preschooler and they're in the home and you're doing the wash, visually they get a lot of information right in front of them. So if I have a child who has difficulties seeing, how would I break that down so that they can be interactive and learn as well? Well, I love this little guy sitting on the floor helping to put the laundry in. We might have explored the washing machine before we actually started. We let them turn it on. We listen to the beeps. We might use buttons and put the tactile stickers on it so they know which is the on and off button. So those are just some strategies so that they can interact and learn how to start learning how to wash like any other 3-year-old would when mom or dad are using the washing machine. Here's another picture of Braille for the sighted classmates and family member. So I can't tell you how excited children get when we talk about Braille. Braille is another form of language. Braille is exciting and it's fun, and I would love to see Braille more accessible to the sighted population. And if I could give anyone something, I would say for you, if your child or student is learning Braille, get Braille everywhere in their school, and let the other kids who may not need to learn Braille learn Braille. Let them be on the journey with that student. When I go into a classroom and I introduce Braille to sighted students, it's just fun for them. It's kind of like learning sign language. Everyone loves to learn a little bit of sign. I think everybody should learn a little bit about Braille. So if you have a student or child that's going into a school with mostly sighted population, get the librarian, the guidance counselor, the principal on board with getting Braille everywhere. It's not hard. A teacher of the visually impaired could help you with it. And it is a fun way for everybody to explore literacy. Looking down below, it says Bedtime in a Box Made Accessible. So here's a little lesson on bedtime. And it's a whole theme box, just like a story box. Hello, come in. And then the other blog that I have down below is Playing with Sound, the World of Digital Journalism. So there's a website called Paths to Technology through Perkins that I work side by side with, but we also have a section on Paths to Literacy about technology and apps. And I think one of the #1 questions I get from parents of young children is, what are the good apps? So on here are lists, and I invite you to take a look at some of the apps that other people recommend. And again, it is not a one-size-fits-all. These are apps recommended by people who had a student that benefited from it, and you can give it a try. My favorite thing to do when I recommend apps is to try the free version first. I don't buy apps that are going to cost more than $5. There are plenty of great apps out there that don't require a lot of money. Any questions so far? I love this one. I'm looking in the middle. It says O&M strategies that incorporate literacy. Just think about that. Orientation and mobility might be a new term for some of you. Learning how to travel safely in your environment. And so traveling is a gross motor skill, but there's literacy involved. How did you get here today? This is a new campus for most of you. Learning to orient yourself through the pathways, finding different signs. So with my little guys, when I'm incorporating literacy with O&M strategies, we're going to start talking about signs out in the world. Our visual students can see stop signs and can see red lights, yellow lights, green lights with traffic stops. So we have to be very specific and teach lessons about the different signs and information out there when traveling. So again, it's a perfect example how literacy is out there in all sorts of forms. And I don't have a lot of experience with deafblindness. I have a lot of experience with students with multiple disabilities. What I love about Paths to Literacy is if you get a student on your caseload that is deafblind and you're like, oh, I'm feeling a little insecure about that, of course you lean on your peers because we can't know everything. But also there are some wonderful articles and also links. I love little YouTube videos. I like hearing from the experts. And Paths to Literacy is a great starting point to get you to the right people so that you can learn a little bit more as well. Special collections. This is the vetted material. This is material that has come through grant money to the experts at the universities and the experienced teachers. So if you're looking for vetted information that is research-based, important word, research-based, go to the special collections on Paths to Literacy. Dots for Families is a wonderful unit broken down into lessons to teach others about Braille. Remember I said how exciting it is for the sighted population to learn Braille as well. So that is a wonderful link. It also, if you Google learning Braille, not Google, I'm sorry, use the search icon on the top and Google, not Google, I have to stop saying Google. If I search on Paths to Literacy learning Braille, you'll get a lot of nice articles with links on how to get free Braille books, like Seedlings. You could also go to National Federation for the Blind. All of the lists will come up. One of my favorite things to do is go in the search engine and look for free Braille books. And someone, I think it was Charlotte, the person who started the website, who I replaced because she's semi-retired, she wrote this wonderful articles with about 15 to 20 different places that you could get free Braille books. Again, because you want to have as much access to Braille as possible. Because just looking at this room, I could see so many words. And imagine a child that does not have access to that. They need to get that Braille in their hands. Braille Brain also breaks down lessons for Braille. This is especially important for people who might be outside the country or for rural areas that don't have access to a teacher of the visually impaired, so that they can have some curriculum that they might not have access to if they were in like the school, wonderful school for the blind. Also, Project Inspire, I work closely with them. This is a granted program, and it talks about increasing the STEM potential of individuals who read Braille. And what does STEM mean for those of you who are not in the education world? This is about science and engineering and technology. And a lot of times people will say, well, they don't really need to, look, they're not going to be an engineer. Well, my question is, why not? Why not? So I think we have to do better as educators, that if a child who has a visual impairment is interested in engineering, it is our job to figure out how to get that learning content to them. So I've been working with some of the leaders in our field, and they've come up with Project Inspire. Some of the things that they are doing is they're doing rocket camps, and this could be done virtually or together. There are different science units that are already adapted for the blind and visually impaired. There is information out there that if it's not accessible in your area, you can link in through Paths to Literacy and sign up for this information. This is free. This is provided for free, and a lot of the materials will be sent to your home. So keep that in mind when we're talking about the young little guys in preschool. We also need to do a good job with the middle school and the high school students, and this is part of how we can do that. Another one is playing with words. Getting a level of literacy. A lot of people who read Braille are at a lower reading level. Why is that? Why is that? There's lots of debates we can have about that, but the one question I bring up is, well, maybe we didn't do a good enough job. Maybe we thought, well, this is the best they can do. Absolutely not. It's unacceptable. So the last one says, tools to support you having a student with a visual impairment in your K through 6 general education class. I don't want to say every, but almost every regular ed teacher, if you're told you're getting a blind student next year in your classroom, will not sleep well the next night. It is scary. I'm scared of things I don't know about and I have to tackle. It's a scary process. But you could look at it two ways. Is this going to be the best year of my teaching career, or is it going to be the worst? It's all about attitude. As a teacher of the visually impaired, my job is to make their job easier. If you are a support teacher and you're making the general education teacher's job harder, it's going to bring roadblocks. It's going to bring a lot of stress. General education teachers have one of the hardest jobs in education. If you haven't spent a full day in an elementary school classroom, I beg you to do so. It's hard just to have a potty break. So they have a lot of pressure. So when there are special needs in the classroom, they need support. And a lot of times they're scared to ask for it because then they feel like they're a failure. So if you are a parent or a support teacher, think about that when there is a new person, a new child coming into a regular education teacher's classroom. How can we make this a fun, rewarding experience for them? I went to a school that had a child coming in and they had a lot of special needs and there was a lot of worry and scare, and they were scared. What about the behaviors? How are they going to get to the bathroom alone? How are we going to get them through the lunch line? Support staff and parents should be part of that team to show them that they can do it and how they can do it to be successful. And at the end of those school years, I want that regular ed classroom teacher to say, this is one of the best years of my life. It might be one of the hardest, but it will also be one of the best if we present it in a way as a team that we're going to have a great year together. So if you have a teacher in your district, in your area, that is a new to the Vision World teacher, Here's some tools that you can pool. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you do, but a lot of times you don't. Reach out to the community. You are not alone, and if you come to Paths to Literacy, there are probably people out there who've already created something for you to use. So keep that in mind. Again, I said it before, but okay, this is one of my favorite parts. Resources. I love resources. As a teacher, you have very little time to make materials. Your supervisors constantly say, why aren't you with the student? So a lot of teachers are spending weekends and summers and holidays to make resources. So here are some resources that might be helpful to you that you don't have to create on your own. Lessons and materials. Nothing better than a well-written lesson that you don't have to write for yourself. And what materials you may need. And the materials that you'll find a lot of time in the Paths to Literacy lesson ideas are materials that you can find very handy in your house or in your office. I also put links to materials that might be needed for purchase. And also, I'm a big believer in using what you have and not having to go to the store every week or so to buy more materials. Plenty of research out there on Paths to Literacy. Again, we talked about the apps and technology. And a nice thing if you come to Paths to Literacy is I also put in events and announcements. So if you have something going on that you think would be of interest to others, feel free to email me and I can put that on Paths to Literacy. We reach thousands and thousands of people every week through Pinterest and TikTok and Facebook. And if you're not a member of or if you don't follow us on Facebook, that's probably the best place to go because we post every other day. Some of it's old, some of it's new. I love finding articles that are a few years old but are still so valuable, and they kind of get lost in the shuffle because they're not new, and then pulling them up and letting people see what's out there. Okay, this next page says parents and families. Welcome, parents. Get started here with tips for your child. Again, I think the scariest part is not knowing. What's this going to look like a year from now? How am I going to do this school year? I don't even know who my classroom teacher's going to be yet. The TVI just left. How am I going to get, who's the new teacher of the visually impaired going to be for my child? This is a great little resource to help you feel connected. And here are some family-centered literacy activities that you could go to. What can I do in my home? If you see a list of 20 or 30 things or a developmental checklist, please take a breath and think about what are the 1 or 2 things that are most important for me and my family right now. Boy, oh boy, would I love for them to be able to get up on their chair and eat dinner without having half of it on the floor. Okay, well, is that age appropriate? And how would that look in order for them to be a little better eater and have a little bit more daily living skills? So that would be a great resource. You heard me say daily living skills. When I say daily living skills, you need to think about how, again, I think I touched on this with the washing machine. What is my intention? How do I teach my child with intention? What that means is you need to sometimes come up with better strategies on how to break apart different activities so that they can be successful. When you have a messy playroom and it's cleanup time, how do you teach them to clean up? Are they visually watching you clean up? What are the expectations? I remember my sister was a new mom, and she said, he just throws the books in the corner. Like, he doesn't clean them up. I'm like, well, have you ever taught him how to clean them up? She's like, what do you mean? So that is what I'm talking about. Teaching with intention. And yes, you're exhausted, and yes, it's hard. But doing deliberate intent and having that intention of teaching will help you so much more down the road. I always say, teach a man to fish. You know, if you give him the fish, he has a fish for the day. So we're teaching them the skills they need to be successful. It's easier in the beginning just to do it for them. It is not fun to scrape a 12-year-old's plate from the dinner table. You're over it. So do yourself a favor and help them to be independent. Have the same expectations for them as you would for someone else their age. And if they're not getting there, and if they're not ready, then break it down a little bit and give yourself time. It has taken some children years and years and years to learn their ABCs, and that's okay. But I never stopped. Tips for TVIs. If you're a parent, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be checking this out. You might have just heard what a TVI is. You might have just heard about orientation, mobility, O&M. Again, don't feel overwhelmed, but maybe just have a goal. On a Sunday night, I'm going to sit down for 20, 30 minutes, and I'm going to read a couple articles instead of getting on Netflix. When you know the role of a teacher of the visually impaired, you are better equipped when asking for things. I'm not a believer in saying, well, that's not my job. You may hear that sometimes. If someone says that to you, then ask, then who do I go to help me with this? A teacher of the visually impaired is often your go-to person if you have a visually impaired child. And they are often what I call like a case manager. And they can help support you getting more services for fine motor skills, OT, or getting more gross motor skills for physical therapy in the school setting. So ask them questions. And if you say, I never even see my teacher the TVI, she sends me a quick note. Well, maybe then that's a priority for you. Ask. Say, hey, can we just have like a quick 10-minute meeting once a month just to kind of touch base on what's going on at school, what's going on at home? I feel a lot of people get, I don't know, they build up those barriers and a lot of frustration and anxiety comes into place when we don't talk to each other. And the biggest advice I can give to you when working with the special education administrators and teachers is have an open dialogue. And that's their job too. So if you have an open line of communication, that doesn't mean you're texting them at 10 o'clock at night, but that means on a Sunday night if you send them an email, hey, when's the best time we can talk this week? Or having a set time to talk once a month goes a long, long way because you're making those connections and then you want to help each other. You want to like each other. You want to be on the same team. I'm guaranteeing you, most educators want to get along with you. And a lot of times the hostility and the frustration comes into place when we're just not communicating to each other. And as a teacher, what I can say is, one of the biggest things you can say is, I hear you and I'm going to try and help you. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be an expert in everything. As a teacher of the TVI, you think, oh, I'm an expert in vision. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you how many. That's such a broad spectrum. I said I specialize in cortical vision impairment. That is one little nugget of a whole array of visual impairments and needs. So as you get older, I think you get better at saying, I'm not sure, or I've never done this before, but I'm willing to try, and I'm a really smart person, and we're going to rock this. So if someone says to you, I've never worked with this population before, don't panic. Get through it together. And also make sure that person gets support with somebody who knows what they're doing with that population. It's okay to ask. Here's our social media information. Again, for those of you who walked in late, I am fine with you getting on your phone right now and signing up for the newsletter. The newsletter is a great reminder for staff and for parents of what are the new articles that just came out. I haven't looked at PASS Literacy for 2 months. Oh my gosh, this so-and-so is giving away free whatever. Or, oh my goodness, there's this free virtual class going on. So that is really helpful as a reminder when it goes in your email box. Oh yeah, I haven't done that for a while. I invite all of you to share your ideas. Remember we talked about vetted, really good, test-of-time lessons from the experts, but we also talked about parents giving their tips and tricks. Everybody's input is valuable. And you don't have to be an awesome writer. I'm learning every day. I still have an editor who giggles at me when I make mistakes. So if you have an idea or you think, wow, this worked really great in this preschool classroom, I'd love to share it, please reach out. I'll help you through it. You can give me it completely done, or you can send me a couple paragraphs and we can work on it together. Usually it takes me about 2 weeks. But if it's something special for a holiday or if it's a special month coming up, we can work on that too. I've found that by teaching others, I teach myself. So it's recommitting yourself to learning. All right, so there is submitting the article. There are guidelines. Don't let it scare you again. You can email me like, I need help to kind of get this really great idea out there. And then, let me see what's next. There's the sign up for the newsletter. If you need help getting signed up for the newsletter, let me know at the end and I will certainly help you. What I'd like to show you over on the side, and I'm not going to move away because I'm on camera, there is, over by the window, there is free materials. So if you're an itinerant teacher, your trunk is completely full with stuff all the time because you're traveling the county, going to maybe 12 different schools. So these are materials that are either brand new or that I've collected that I no longer need. There are some Braille books for preschoolers. I'm going to tell you, and don't fight over them, there are 2 containers full of Legos, with the Braille Legos. I got them for free, and I don't have any children that are learning Braille right now, so that is a really big plus. There's a sense of science, raised drawings that you could put on a light box. So please take them, otherwise they're going to end up in my trunk again and back in my basement. So take them all. Are there questions, concerns, worries? You have information that you're looking for? No? You're just, yes, go ahead.
I just want to say something because,
of course.
Excuse me,
yes.
From the Mass Commission for the Blind, you got a very good resources that you just heard, and I'd like to strongly encourage you, TVI or parents, to get in touch with the Mass Commission for the Blind, because the Mass Commission for the Blind is responsible for all the people who are visually impaired in Massachusetts. You may not have registered your child first. You have not done that. Please do so, because there are a lot of information you got here that can be supported by the Mass Commission for the Blind.
And it's overwhelming. They can help you navigate all that. Thank you.
Please register your child. And also, once your child is registered with the Mass Commission for the Blind, they will assign a social worker who will support you and your school where the child is going.
And that's for every state too. If you're out of state, you should also do that in your own state.
Yeah, people who are here who are from different, part of Massachusetts, you still part of the Mass Commission for the Blind. Please register your child. They will assign a worker who will assist you with different programs, different activities happening, and we pay for it. You don't pay anything. The Mass Commission for the Blind has the budget to help the kids for like camps and stuff like that. Sometimes they come here at Perkins for a week or 2 weeks of whatever it may be. But we have to know about it. If you don't communicate with us, or if the information skip your head, please reach out to your respective region, and they will try to help you with the services. And we want to see the children get education just like any other child. We forget that. Some of us who've been blind, if we didn't know, if our parents were not effective enough to fight for us, maybe some of us will never finish high school or go to college. Mm-hmm. So please, don't leave your child be like a second citizen. We're all part of this.
Thank you.
Come to the MCB table if you need any information to register your child. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's all about advocating. There's a difference between advocating and becoming a mama bear where you want to attack. When those moments happen, take a breath and talk to your people. and then reach out in a positive way that's going to make changes for you. There's also information on there, checklists. Maybe you're going to your first IEP. Maybe you're going to your first team meeting. What are some things that you should expect? Come prepared. Reach out to other parents. What should I know before I go into this meeting? What should I ask for? What kind of goals should I be requesting? How much time? I think that's the biggest one. How much time should my child be getting in these different services? What's appropriate? There's information there that will tell you. And then if you're overwhelmed, ask. Email me, reach out to your case manager, reach out to your social worker, and say, I need help navigating this. Yes?
I just wanted to add, Jessie Wetzel, parent, on the IEP note. You can ask for more time in an IEP too. They're often scheduled for an hour. Oftentimes that's not enough. Mm-hmm. We constantly get 2 hours. We requested it at the beginning of the year. She was in preschool, she's in kindergarten now, our oldest. And they make the time. The school will make the time to
perfect. You could also ask for quarterly meetings and get that on the IEP, and then it's a legally binding document. I have a little guy that I help out who lives in Pennsylvania, and they meet monthly. Not everybody can make it monthly, and we all have busy schedules, but it's just a check-in. And sometimes I pop in virtually just to see if they have any questions about CVI. So again, that open line of communication. How sad is that if you only meet the team once a year for an hour? It's not enough.
No, and I mean, we meet quarterly as well, and then we also added on recently a special education teacher to the IEP who's kind of like a liaison for us and then the whole team, and she's sending us reports so we kind of know what's going on in the school, because obviously when you're in early intervention, you're getting these reports from educators and from therapists. Then when you enter the school system, that kind of stops, minus these report cards that come in, and then with the report card, you should be getting a special education report as well. That's automated from the school, so maybe it was updated, maybe it wasn't. So we've added that, and it's been great.
Yeah.
It's been very helpful.
And you could always ask for a draft or what prospective goals are going to happen for the next year, and talk individually to team members before you go into the IEP meeting, just to kind of have your bearings, because it's so frustrating as a parent to sit in an IEP meeting that's 1 hour long, and they're boom, 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 reading you that 25, 40 page, and you're like, okay. And you don't have to sign anything other than you're attending the meeting and say, I need a little bit of time to think about this.
I'm John, insignificant other to Jessie.
Significant.
The two things I would say is, one is MCB is a great resource also to be able to not just gain access to other resources, but to do some of that advocacy. We had our latest IEP meeting on Friday. There was an MCB rep there to help and ask valuable questions. Hey, we like our current situation is we don't have a permanent solution for a TBI, which is a increasingly challenging thing. Your child may not have a TBI in that district. They may have a contracted TBI. They may have a remote TBI. They may not have a solution for that, because there is you're going to find there's a shortage in a lot of geographies for TBI resources. And how you navigate that solution it's always unique. MCB has been a really great resource, being able to reach out to people at Perkins, being able to just ask, is this normal? Because you don't know it going into the process of whether or not what a school district is saying is reasonable, or is it not reasonable? Does it fall within the law? Does it not fall within the law? What does IDEA say? What does all these other groupings of things that you have? Do you have rights? Do you have resources there? So it's really helpful to have an advocate in the room to be able to say, hey, let's talk about beforehand. I'll help you in the room. Let's talk about it afterwards. How did that meeting go? Do you as a parent, do you as someone else feel good about that? And it's sometimes easier to say, no, I don't feel good. I was confused. I don't know what's going on.
It's valuable. Anybody else have anything? These are really good conversations, because when you go out there and you aren't connecting with other people and you feel alone, you have to remember that there are resources out there to connect with. And when he said there's a shortage of TVIs, there's a shortage of teachers and there's a shortage of TVIs. And that's when I thought of making Braille Fun, getting those TVIs that already come into the school, have those conversations with students, and getting them interested in the world of vision and what that means. I think that having a visually impaired or blind child in your school or in your classroom is such a valuable experience. And as adults, it is our responsibility to make it a positive, fun, enriching environment for everybody. Yes?
Sorry to
Yeah.
one of the things that we've done in school is when Addie has our daughter, has her TBI services, 1 or 2 kids will get pulled out with her or
Perfect.
sit in the back of the
Yep.
classroom as they're doing literacy. She's teaching them things, they're teaching her things, and it's a really working relationship. Be mindful though, like obviously if she's learning something more advanced than ABC, we have to be mindful of that. So she's still learning, but she loves it. It's empowering to her. It's fun for the other students.
Yep.
I've had parents come up to me and say, hey, we're in the elevator, my kid saw Braille. And they're like, oh, this is how Addie reads. This is
Yeah.
so cool. And it gets them excited about something. If she weren't in the room, they probably would not
Never.
even know
Yeah.
existed.
Yeah, it's just amazing how comfortable watching these kids grow up together, that they are with each other and knowing each other's needs. And I'm hoping that they are a better generation of just accepting of all of our special needs, whether it be any type of impairment, whether it be just being a shy kid in the class, you know? So we have to be open to conversations and talking and creating normalcy, which is what it's all about. This is normal life stuff.
And I think something else I just thought about to add too is for parents anyway, or anybody, finding a friend for your kiddo that also shares a similar diagnosis or visual impairment. We recently found one and it's been wonderful. And one of the first things the girl that we were connecting with said was, hey, you press your eyes like I do too. And it was like an instant connection
Yeah.
within like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And it was really great to see. And my oldest daughter asked to go by herself. She has 2 younger sisters. She's like, no, I want to be with my new visually impaired friend.
Yeah.
And it was cool. It was great, and we've set more than one plated up since.
And it's a safe place because as she grows up, she doesn't always want to be the person who has to educate everybody, you know? It's nice to have people who just know what you're going through. And that reminds me of a time that we had like a little summer camp thing that I put together, and they were talking about their canes, and you know, the one girl was complaining about it, how she doesn't like it, and the other girl goes, oh, I know. And I was just like, oh, like, it just warmed my heart. I'm like, yes. They're talking about their human experiences together, and they get each other. So that's so valuable, so valuable. And there are resources on Paths to Literacy that can kind of connect people that way. And I think I did a list of summer camps. So it's time to start thinking about summer if you haven't already. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes?
No, I just wanted to add it that the National Federation of the Blind and American Council for the Blind have each a unit for parents of the children who are visually impaired.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very good support group. So National Federation of the Blind,
Yep.
There's a website, you go to National Federation of the Blind of Massachusetts or American Council for the Blind of Massachusetts, the 2 different advocacy groups. You have the unit for the parents of the children who are visually impaired, and also there's a unit for visually impaired blind students. And that's when you see your child get connected with other blind children, learning certain things, because they cannot just learn by themselves. I think
No.
sometimes it's good when they are among other kids who are visually impaired, they share the same kind of disability.
Yeah.
They learn a lot. They learn more than they will learn at home because
Yeah.
everyone's bringing different perspective how they learn, and I think it's a good
Yeah,
support.
there's
group.
good sports programs
to
out
do
there
that.
too for the visually impaired and blind that you might not have had that opportunity because there's 2 in the district, and you know, not that they shouldn't also be participating in those sports, but to have sports specific as a group for visually impaired youth, that it's out there. You just have to look for it. And again, don't overwhelm yourself. Baby bites. Pick a couple goals. And if you don't meet those goals, put it on your next month's to go. You know, we all have busy lives. So you're doing the best you can. Don't beat yourself up. This is going to be a wonderful, wonderful experience. Yes.
Hi, as a TPI, I just want to say thank you because all of my students have such unique and individualized situations with their vision or their learning preferences and profiles that I've never not found a resource path to
Oh,
literacy.
good. That
And
makes
it's
me happy.
and just for people who haven't had experience with it, it's constantly being updated. I'm certain that you have like several posts a day.
About 3 articles a week. It keeps me hopping, and I teach full time.
Yeah.
So it's ever changing, ever evolving. That's why the newsletters are important. Yeah. If you haven't signed up yet, I'm gonna, maybe put you in a headlock before you walk out of the room.
Absolutely. So I just want to say thank you because I always come across with resources that I'm looking for, but also things I never knew that I needed.
It inspires you too. It gets
Definitely.
it's like when you get to talk to other people in your building, like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing?
Yes, and as a small incidence, disability area and a relatively small professional field, it really does make you feel connected to others
for
across
sure.
the country. So thank you.
Oh, good. Anything else? I want you guys to talk amongst yourselves. I want you to steal all my stuff. Take it out. I don't want to see it anymore. And again, you have my email, and if you don't, I can give it to you as we're leaving. And don't be shy. I can't learn unless you're helping me learn. Yes?
Hello, I'm Vijay. I'm from India, one of the IEP here. As you told that your path to literacy and the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind and National Federation for the Blind, you're having in US, I have seen in my 7-month duration, but you are having a lots of resources with you. Being I'm from a developing country, we have very, very, very wonderful experience with us with either no resources or very less number of resources. So when resources are very less or no resources, then if a person is